When you are an advanced lifter, stop thinking that you are going to make weekly or even monthly progress on your progressive overload. This is absolutely ridiculous. And this is part of accepting the reality that you are an advanced lifter and you are looking at what can you gain in 3 months, 6 months, a year at that point. And I think for a lot of people, that transition from novice up to intermediate can be a wake-up call for this, and definitely as you're transitioning through intermediate up towards being an advanced lifter. What do I mean by that? Like when you're repping 225 on the bench, you're repping 315 on the squat, right? You're getting up towards being an advanced lifter. And advanced meaning for drug-free people, I'm not talking about for powerlifting purposes. It's like you bring this up, people will go, really, that's nothing for an elite powerlifter. It's like, well, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. You don't have to be an elite world-class level lifter to be advanced. And you should expect to be advanced after several years of consistent hard training. As long as you haven't had any massive setbacks, right? You're going to be relatively advanced within 3 to 5 years. You're going to reach that threshold. And here's what I want guys to think about. Look at even those muscle growth charts you've seen. Plenty of people put out for years are like, all right, novice lifters can gain, about 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month. That's half a kilo to a kilogram, right? At least for a little while. At least for a little while. And then before long, like, more intermediate, it might be, half a pound a month. A lot of guys, whoa, that's about 6 pounds a year. That's about 3 kilograms of muscle per year. Then as you start becoming more advanced, what are we talking about? The monthly novice becomes your whole year. And here's what I want people to think about with this. And there's things you have to do psychologically to deal with this, and I understand that. And we can talk about that in a minute. But when you've been training for several years and you're kind of reaching that advanced place, I want you to think about that. Your muscle growth for the year, for an entire year, is what a noob can do in 3 to 4 weeks. You're going to have to work for a year. Now, here's what I'm going to point out. Once our initial neural gains are done and everything, doesn't our strength correlate to muscle? People are like, yeah, of course it does. Okay. How much weight does a novice put on his big lifts and say that month? A novice who's gaining 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month. What do you think they really have put on their rep work? Assuming they weren't hitting failure. Let's say they reached on a linear progression, right? They hit their first weight reset. Because those early ones, sometimes they're progressing, but they're not really max effort sets, right? They're not to failure. So even though they're adding oftentimes 5 pounds of workout, that's not really what they're gaining on their strength. When they hit that first reset, now they're at their limit. So after they hit that first weight reset on the squat or the bench, what do they really put on that a month? Okay, for the rep work, maybe 10 pounds on the bench, maybe in an ideal world, 15 to 20 on the squat. Okay, that's your big lifts. Let's not even get over to percentages of small lifts. How does that break down through the year? Okay, so think about that. In other words, that's worth about 2 pounds of muscle growth. So if you can put 10 pounds onto your 5 or your 10 rep sets on bench, 15 on your squat, maybe 20, it's pushing it for your rep work. They're doing that in a month. You're doing that over the course of a year. What does that look like in terms of progression? 10 pounds in a year? That means you're putting less than a pound a month onto your rep work on your bench. Maybe a pound to a pound and a half per month on a squat. Per month. So how often are you really adding 5 pounds? Every 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? That's it. Or you're picking up a couple reps and then you're adding weight. All right, let's say you're doing sets of 10 and you work them up to sets of 12. When you get to 12, you put another 5 pounds on or whatever. Okay? That's months of work. All right, what about your small movements? Keep in mind, that might be you're doing rep work with 200 pounds on the bench. 10 pounds is only 5%. What if you're doing curls with 50 pounds and tricep extensions with 50 or 60 pounds? What's 5% of that? It's like 2 pounds. Well, that's over 4 to 6 months. So if you've been using the same weight for 3 months on all these lifts and have maybe at best picked up a rep, have you stalled? I mean that is a serious question. Have you stalled, or are you just an advanced lifter who's been training for 5 years? You're just an advanced lifter, you haven't stalled. But people see it that way. Why? Because when I was a noob, I was putting 5 pounds on stuff all the time. Yeah, but you also gained 20 pounds of muscle. Did you just start a blast of gear? No. Well, why would you expect to make noob gains again? It's not a stall, it's a part of the game. You're looking for an annual upward trend, a trend upward over time. That's it. This is also why advanced lifters bulk and cut too much and get too fat, because they expect I should be putting 10 pounds on my rep work on my bench and my skull crushers in 8 weeks. Well, you're going to have to get fat to do that. And then you're going to have to cut. If you're making lean, slow, steady, consistent gains, these upward trends are going to be slow. They're not stalls. They're normal. So either you learn to accept that normal and you just keep training, or guess what? You change exercises. Keeping in mind the changing of exercises is for psychological purposes. Oh, what do you mean? I was weak at the new exercise and I put 10 pounds on it fairly quick. Yeah, because you learn the technique and the neural drive of the new lift. Congratulations. And if you switch lifts again, that'll happen again. It'll take you a week to get back to your old strength a lot of times when you rotate the old lift back in. Okay? Did you make gains? I know, I was right back where I ended after a week. Right. You're not stalling, you're just advanced. It happens. It's part of lifting for years and years and years and years and years and years. At a certain point, it's just about nice, slow, very, very, very slow, but steady progress. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.